In this video, I'm going to go over some positioning and lineups for defending B site on Port Euler because I noticed some players really struggle with the layout of the site and kind of just autopilot, not fully thinking through about their protocols. So generally speaking, for B site, there's a site anchor who plays on this half of the site and a rotator who plays on the other half. We're going to cover the anchor role first though, because it's a bit more straightforward to play. I'll also leave a link to this website down in the description because it's very useful. As the dedicated site anchor, the first interceptor you're going to want to learn will have you tucking into this corner here and aiming in the middle of this line. This is the line up close. Note that this lineup is very precise. You need to be literally aiming in the middle of this line. You can ADS to help line it up, but note that you need to spam ADS because holding ADS for too long makes your crosshair start to sway. This interceptor will land on top of this light and be unbreakable from the enemy's perspective. There's another lineup from this box. First, you wall stick onto the middle of this wall and double jump glide onto the box. You can't double jump glide from the top of the wall because you'll bonk your head against the ceiling. The next step is to stand in the center of the box and aim at this cross. Because you aren't tucking yourself into a hard corner, you'll have to double check the trajectory and adjust accordingly. This interceptor can be countered if the attackers know a lineup, so I would only suggest you use this lineup if you know that they aren't throwing the attacker version of this lineup and you're okay with getting to your forward position a bit slower. Attackers can come to this ledge and aim at the blue strip above the light fixture. They can also come to this ledge and aim in the blue box below this letter H. As the site anchor, your second nade is going to be one of the stall grenades, so either a slow, windstorm, or frag grenade. The slow grenade is pretty decent. You can throw it in the middle of the choke. Just be careful about the sides, they can come through. Or you could fully cover one side of the choke. You can also just throw it at pieces of cover, and it makes it really tough to come out because they're just walking so slow, they can't really peek. Make sure you throw your slow grenade because if they pick it up mid-round, they can use it to completely cut off your A rotators. The real star is the frag grenade in my opinion. Landing a frag grenade in the choke or behind these pieces of cover can just be devastating. It's also very important for confirming down players since it's very common for down players in the site to crawl over to cover and potentially be revived. So overall, the slow or frag grenade are both good options, with the slow being more consistent and the frag grenade having potentially higher impact. Moving on to positioning, generally speaking, at the beginning of the round, you're going to want to move into some forward positioning so that you gain your team early info and prevent them from taking the space for free. Playing behind this box is good because you can spot vent and still have a line up to choke. Just be aware that you can be caught close if you don't have info on the left side, and note that the bottom corner is transparent. This high ground position makes it difficult for the enemy to reach you and you have a good sightline on the choke. All the other positions from this point on require some attention to vents because you won't have direct line of sight. So watch for the vent peak, which usually follows some kind of utility or contact in B main. You can play in the position directly below as well to get a cleaner sight line into the choke. This position gives you a right hand peak, but is riskier since playing this forward means you're a bit easier to rush. Playing underneath gives you a clean angle and features some cover for yourself. This center position on the right side gives you little info on the right choke but has a nice right hand peek on this open space, while the left side has info on the left choke but gives a harder peek. Once you start getting pressured and feel the need to fall back, you have 3 good options you can fall back to. That's here, here, and here. Falling back here gives up info on the right lane, so after regaining awareness, you should either path to these boxes here to safely regain info, or continue going left to do a coordinated push with your team on the left flank to make up for the lost space. This counter push I'm talking about is pretty common, where in response to the attackers taking the far half of the site, the defenders push the opposite half of the site and swing around flanking the attackers. One of 3 things usually then occurs. 1. The attackers take site not fully realizing that they're being flanked, which usually results in the defenders winning. 2. The attackers turn around and a huge messy fight occurs in the center, which usually results in the team with better coordination winning. 3. The attackers push into back hall avoiding the fight, in which case the round can go either way. At the cost of being more vulnerable to getting run over, falling back here maintains more control over the right lane, allowing you to take right hand peeks and puts you only one step away from regaining a forward position if you sense the opportunity. This position is basically a passive version of the previous position, and it'll likely be the area where you'll have to choose whether to make a final stand, ideally with support from your rotators, or rotating back haul if you have no support or don't think it's worth potentially dying on site. From back hauls, you can directly monitor this hallway, head upstairs to take fights, or regroup with your team. Choosing between the three options, watching the hallway downstairs for a little bit is a good idea, but I would avoid pushing the hallway if you are alone, since you'd be caught out in the open without a trade. If you're going alone, going upstairs to create an off angle with your team is a good idea and is relatively safe with all the turns and wall sticks available. Lastly, if you're not confident fighting alone upstairs, you can always just regroup with your team. One last bonus anchor position is right here. You have a really nice headshot angle and a gap to abuse. The only bad part is if they use resources on you, since your escape path is extremely predictable because you can only run in one direction. In general, it's better if your B-site rotator throws the round start interceptor so that you can save it for the site take and hold these types of positions. The last thing to cover for the anchor roll on B-site is your protocols for if the attackers go A-site. If they 5-man commit A, big flanking is a high risk, high reward option. You can also flank through cargo, which gives you the option of dropping mid whenever you want if you don't like what you see, or hard committing by dropping into site. This is just your normal rotate through mid connector, and this is your long but reliable rotate that will give you alternate angles onto site and avoid any util dump on mid connector. If your team only spots a few people on A, there are mainly two ways of playing this. The first way is to cheat over to A slightly, but still be the B anchor until you have enough info to make a real rotate. This puts you in position to do your normal B hold in case they rotate into you. The second way is to transfer over to the B rotator roll. This weakens your B hold in exchange for a faster rotate to A and opens up stacking possibilities if your site partner wants to fully rotate now, leaving you behind. Once they commit, you can then quickly rotate over like normal. If the attackers rotate B, you can lightly contest them until your team arrives. Your team will also likely go for the swing around B if they rotated through cargo or flank, or if you maintained a lot of control over mid connector so that they can safely jump up. Now we can move into the B rotator roll. It's important you learn an interceptor lineup for the B main choke so that your site anchor can save his for the site take. To throw the B main choke lineup, you first tuck yourself into the controller. Then aim a bit left of the corner and include a tiny bit of overlap with the metal strip.
Interceptor deployed.
This is where you should be aiming. Also, make sure that your interceptor isn't blocked by the cargo. You can also jump into the corner here and aim between the two metal fixtures. This lineup can be intercepted if the attackers know a lineup and will make you arrive at your forward positions later. For your second grenade, the analysis is basically the same from the anchor section, except that the wind grenade gets a whole lot better in the rotate roll, since getting to play on these ledges, if you're ever lower mid for whatever reason, is really powerful. It allows you to get an overview and see everything on site for your team. You can also make a lot more aggressive rotates and avoid the util dump on mid connector. And the ledge itself is just a good angle, especially if you're not expecting it. To get to the ledge consistently from the mid platforms, just throw it straight down and double jump glide. Moving on to positioning, after you throw your interceptor, you have some options in terms of forward positioning. This scaffolding has good sightlines of the choke and has options for fighting right side, or coming back safe. Anywhere on this left side has closer range fights. Just make sure that you have an escape plan or util in the choke point. Playing as the rotator role, it's important you do your best to maintain control over the close side so that your left side counter push is always an option. Directly running to the far side immediately to help your anchor loses you info on the close side, which potentially removes the counter push option and can lead to some confusion, like your anchor leaving you out to dry, or an attacker taking the space you gave up, gaining a flank, and cutting your rotate. This round's a good example of keeping control over the left side even when I know the right side is being pressured. When the round starts, I throw my interceptor and head to my forward position. Because I hear my interceptor blocking util and I miss my jump to the ledge, I decide to play on top of the scaffold like normal. Notice that even after losing a teammate on the right side, I still maintain my position on the left. And because they use all their utility on the choke and on the right side, I just get free kills on the left.
Bomb carrier knocked down. Remains. Defenders win.
The last position I want to show is playing on top of the ledge. The ledge is a good spot because you can hear the rotates, spot mid, go on the cargo, and fight B while having the option to drop mid if you're downed or take a bunch of damage. The cover is also deceptively good. Even if they spot me or scam me, I could play up there safely. In the next round, I go ledge again and cargo over to A when they commit ults.
The destiny of this world is to be buried here. The disobedient shall be punished.
After taking a fight, I hear them rotate, and so wind grenade back onto the ledge to take another fight. Since we rotated so fast, they get stuffed on B and we win the round. You don't even need to drop immediately, especially on A, where you can just sit on top and get all the damage and info. Your only concern is watching for the mid lurker because he can potentially punish you. But even this has counterplay because you can push him if he's alone.
No one dares to stand before my blade.
Your last option is the big flank. Here's a bonus skill jump that is very difficult to do. First, you line up with the dark line and aim at the corner of the piping. As the cargo is passing by, when this metal panel is fully visible again, you double jump with the second jump at the apex of the first jump, then glide and wall stick. This is what it should look like. That's the video for today. Make sure to subscribe and comment down below what I should cover in my next video.